Welcome, everybody, to Anonymous Live. Good evening. Hope you're doing well tonight. Look at us on time. Audio's working. Everything's good. This is a very laid-back stream. We've had some audio issues the last couple streams, and it seems like everything's good this time. No surprises. Very much looking forward to diving in tonight. If you're new here, we will be taking calls from anonymous callers. Anyone could call for the next 2 hours and share something that's on their mind, confess something, get something off their chest, vent something, use the chat and me as a sounding board. However you guys want to use this space is up to you. We only ask that you remain anonymous when you call. No names, no locations. We don't get ideological here. We don't get philosophical here. We just talk to people about what's on their minds, what they're going through. It's a place to discuss things that might be difficult to discuss elsewhere. And the goal here is to be super open-minded and chill about stuff. So lines are opening right now. We've got a 1-800 number here you can call. Lines are opening. Before we dive into the calls, I want to make one quick announcement that I'm very much excited about. We have discontinued temporarily Wednesday streams here. There was a Wednesday stream that I've been doing here on the channel for the last few months, like a fun, goofy stream that we've been doing that I discontinued for the time being because there's a bunch of stuff happening here on the channel that I needed time to prepare for. But this coming Wednesday, do not miss it. There will be a stream that has been in the works for a long time. About a year, I've been looking forward to this stream, and it's finally happening this coming Wednesday, August 24th, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Do not miss it. It won't be goofy. It's going to be very much, it's a science-y historical episode, but it's going to be I'm not going to be alone. It's going to be with, this is going to be an episode on the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible. It was the very first history ever written, very first law ever written on the planet. Of course, there are older writings that are considered historical writings that predate the Torah. But these are considered prose and not history because they're more like poetry. And next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, August 24th, I will have with me here on the channel Ronald Hendel and Dr. Richard Elliott Friedman, who are the 2 leading voices in the world on the Torah. Pretty much nobody tops these guys. These guys are, they need no introduction, but I'm so looking forward to this because the Torah is such a fascinating book to me. And I hope you guys see the appeal of that. I've been working on this, pulling this together for about a year now. And we're going to have a fascinating conversation about technology and the Torah. Science and the Torah. Are they at odds? Are they together? And that's going to be, again, with Ronald Hendel. You can look these guys up if you're not familiar. They're amazing. Ronald Hendel's an anthropologist. Richard Elliott Friedman is the author of Who Wrote the Bible? And he's the leading Bible scholar as far as the Torah goes. So very exciting stream. Very excited to host that this coming Wednesday. Don't miss it. It'll be about 2 hours long. Very excited to announce that. This is the very first time I've mentioned it, but I'll be announcing it officially elsewhere later. So, wanted to kind of softly announce that to you guys who are regular viewers here. Okay, so lines are opening now. We're about to dive in. And let's see here. Also, I will be at Bufferfest this coming weekend. Sorry, not this weekend. The weekend of August 26th through 29th, I will be at Bufferfest in Toronto. So great opportunity to connect with any of you who might be there. Let me know if you're going to be there. I might do a meetup. My first appearance at any festival like that in about 7 years. So a lot's happening here, slowly ramping up. Okay, I see I've missed a couple calls during those couple announcements. Lines are remaining open. We'll just chill here for a sec. I wanted to get those two things out there. I know we have some dedicated viewers here that have missed those Wednesday streams, so next Wednesday won't be a funny stream, but it'll be a very enlightening stream, because I will either look like a jackass, because I have some very specific questions on this topic, which is why I've pulled this thing together. I might look like a jackass, or it might be riveting. Either way, it'll be riveting. Okay, we're going to jump into some calls. Here we go. Hi there, thanks for calling.
Hey, thank you for taking the time to me tonight.
Absolutely.
About 3 weeks, sorry.
Can we start with your age and then a brief intro?
My little sister killed herself.
Oh my goodness.
And it's been obviously like super difficult. It's been the most pain that I've ever experienced in my life, and I guess I'm just like really struggling to find meaning in anything now.
Yeah. My goodness. How old was your sister?
She was 20.
Did you know this was going to happen? Did she talk to you about it, or was it a complete surprise, or what's the deal?
She like struggled with suicidal ideation a lot. She had about 3 attempts before this, throughout the last couple of years of her life, and I thought she was getting better. Like, she was living with my parents in our hometown for a while. When the last attempt happened, and I talked to my parents and asked if she could move in with me, which she did, and things were getting better. But I was living with my ex-fiance. She's now my ex-fiance. At the time we were engaged, but when we broke up, I moved out of that place, and that was at the beginning of this year. And so, like, I'm trying not to blame myself, but I can't stop, like, asking, like, what I could have done differently, or if I had done something differently, if she'd still be with us, you know?
Right. My goodness. I'm so sorry for your
I
loss.
guess. Thank you. I am too.
Go ahead.
I guess, like, if I had to ask for anything, it would be, how do you find meaning in things?
Yeah. Chat, if you have thoughts for the caller, this would be a great time to chime in. If any of you have experience with suicide of a close loved one, this would be a great time to chime in. I'll share some thoughts since the caller's asking, and then I'll get to the chat in a second. Caller, to be honest, I've never lost someone that close to suicide. I've known people who've taken their own lives, and but never a sibling, never a immediate family member, and so I don't know what that feels like to be. Just to make that very clear, I don't know what that feels like. But my heart breaks for you. That's got to be heart-wrenching. I can only imagine. Yeah, the world is chaotic. Are you familiar with Pareto distributions? It's kind of a cold thing to mention at this point, but the Pareto distribution of like 80% chaos, 20% order. I don't know if I don't know you. If we were friends, I might not start here, but I don't know you, and so I don't know where to begin. So I'm starting very basic. Um, the world is basically chaotic, and then there's a very small amount of order. And so you asked how I find meaning. I find meaning in the very small amount of life that is orderly, the very small amount of life that is going according to plan, the very small amount of life that is fruitful and flourishing, because so much of life is fleeting. So much of life is anyone's guess. It's chaotic. Uh, the universe is full of chaos. You're talking about entropy. And so, I want to hear more about what's on your mind. It makes sense that you want to get right to the chase, and yet I don't know fully how to answer that without feeling like any answer I would give would just be insensitive, because I don't know exactly what it is you're feeling, because I've never lost someone that way. So maybe you could share a bit more, and we'll talk as long as you need.
Yeah. Honestly, that's a really good way of looking at things, that finding meaning in the order that we do have. She was the member of my family that I felt closest to. She was 20, I'm currently 26, and there's about a 5-year gap between me and my older sister, and then another 5-year gap between her and my older brother. And so we spent the most time with each other out of everyone in the family, and we didn't have like the best relationship with our parents growing up. There was some neglect there, but we, especially in the last year, we really got close. And I was able to open up to her about things that I can't open up to the rest of my family about. I know I could, like, I know they love me unconditionally, right? It's like a comfort thing, I guess. Just like with the amount of time that we spent with each other in comparison to the amount of time that we spent with the other family members. And I'm really thankful, because in this last year, when she moved up with me and was spent with me, I was able to introduce her to a lot of my friends, and she got along super well with them and made friends of them, and they were all super loving and caring and brought her in. And they knew that she struggled mentally and emotionally, but didn't really understand just how bad it was, I don't think, until this happened. It's been very cathartic to be with those friends now too, because they're super patient with me. I'm pretty isolated from the rest of my family right now, just because of distance. And so it's been really nice to have those friends with me who share in those memories and those emotions with my little sister.
Right.
Sorry.
What kinds of things did you share with your sister that you felt you couldn't be open with to your family? You've got anonymity here, no names, no locations. If you're comfortable sharing, I'm just curious. You mentioned your sister and you were close. I'm curious what kinds of things your sister was a confidant for.
Yeah. So after my fiance and I broke up, I got into a relationship that was very toxic. At one point, my girlfriend raped me, and as a man, there's a stigma around sexual assault, and as much as I wish there wasn't, there is. But that was one of the things that I was able to talk about with her because I knew she would understand. And she saw the most of mine and she's my ex now, but mine and my ex-girlfriend's relationship. And she made it very clear how she saw the relationship, but also made it very clear that she loved me and would support me in whatever I wanted to do and would be there for me. And that was the biggest thing, is knowing that having someone who would be completely honest with me, but also still support me unconditionally. And to that, on the flip, one of the things that she was confident with me in was after she moved up with me, she came out as transgender to me, and I was the first person that she came out to. And I could tell that she was terrified to do that, because she was shaking and she was crying, and it was all before she even told me. I could just see how torn up and nervous she was. And after she told me, we just cried and held each other. And I just affirmed her that I'll always be there for her and I'll always love her. And, and she was super relieved. And she said that the support that I gave her then gave her a lot of the courage that she then needed to come out to the rest of my family throughout the last year. And so just like stuff like that, like things that we both understand there's a stigma around, that we just need a totally safe and comfortable area to talk about with. We were each other's safe and comfortable area.
It's beautiful your sister felt so open with you to share something like that. Makes me wonder how that was received by the rest of the family.
I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure I understand that statement.
Maybe I'm missing something. It sounded like you said your sister opened up to you about being non-binary, and that gave her the courage, or them the courage. I don't know how they identified. It gave them the courage to open up to the rest of your family about it. And I'm wondering, I guess I wasn't trying to get so to the point, but to make it clear, like, was your family accepting of that? Was your family resistant to that? Could that have had anything to do with the mental, your sister's mental health, or where they were?
Okay, yeah. My brother and sister, they're like-minded to myself. They were super loving and caring and on board with it, and they were absolutely supportive. My parents were not so much. They still love them unconditionally, right? They're still their child, but they definitely had reservations about it. I don't know how much of an impact that specifically had on the suicide. I'm sure it didn't help, but she also struggled with a lot of other things. Like, after it happened, I went to her room with my brother to kind of do a sweep through before any of the other family members saw, just in case there was stuff we didn't think they should see. And when we did that, I found some journals, and in it, she was talking about how she thinks she has dissociative identity disorder. And it was crazy to read that because the sentence structure would change page to page, and the handwriting would shift slightly, and there were a lot of that she did. I didn't know that she was into art at all, but she was doing a lot of drawings about just the emotions that she was feeling with it. And I think that was the biggest part, is she was being treated for bipolar disorder, and she was taking hormonal therapy for the transition, and she was also working graveyard shifts. And I think just all of it together just kind of led to, sorry, what I'm trying to say is there were a lot of factors that went into it, I believe. She had a bunch of possessions on her when she took her own life, and they're still with the state and evidence, so we haven't actually gotten her phone back. They told us that there was a journal that was with her as well, and so we don't know yet if she left a last note or anything like that, but yeah.
So, a lot of questions running around my head. Struggling to know where to begin. I want to be sensitive because this is a recent thing. I don't know what it is you need right now. Of course, I can't give you what you need. I'm glad you called in and you're talking about it. That's what this place is. We just offer a listening ear. You might benefit from some counseling through this. I hope you don't just make this a short phone call with me in the chat here. Sounds like you're questioning a lot, and none of us here can fix your problems. Only you can fix your problems. Not even a therapist can fix your problems. But talking about things can help you process what you're feeling, and we believe that here, and that's we just try to create a place where people can talk about whatever's on their mind. So it's a roundabout way of me apologizing in advance for my inevitable fumbling through this conversation. But we'll listen as long as you want to talk. We won't wear you out. Whenever you want to go, you can go. I'm wondering, how has this impacted you? You mentioned you are struggling with a loss of sense of meaning. What has that been like? What has that felt like? How are you?
In terms of mental health awareness, it's gotten me motivated. I was in therapy for a while, but I had to stop for financial purposes. But when this happened, I got back on with my therapist because, like you said, this is something that I can't just ignore. It's very important to process and feel all of these emotions and come to an understanding on it, because that's how it gets to that point, right? People, everyone's different, obviously, but it's just unchecked mental health a lot of the times. So it's been good for me in that sense, and the rest of my family too, where we've all just kind of come together and understood that the devastation that can come from unchecked mental health. And
right.
So we're all kind of coming together over that, which has been nice.
That's good.
I'm seeing my therapist. I'm meeting with psychiatrists, because I also struggle with bipolar disorder, and so I've been on medication for that. And I'm honestly super grateful that I was on medication before this, because I don't know how I would have reacted if I wasn't. But in terms of losing my sense of meaning, I wrote a book last year, and I've always wanted to be a writer. And throughout the last 5 years, I've been journaling almost daily. And I used to be able to express my emotions through creative writing, but ever since this happened, I have been completely unable to do any kind of creative writing. And I think that has been the manifestation of my loss of meaning, because that is normally how I express myself and put myself. And when I sit down to do it now, I just question, like, why would I do this? Because my sister is still dead, and the grief that I feel from this will still be here. And sorry.
Take your time.
One thing that a friend of mine told me that has helped me is when something like this happens, is to not lie down and accept it for what it is. It's important to let it radicalize you, in the sense of doing everything you can to improve yourself and the world around you for the sake of those who are gone.
Right.
And that's kind of how, like, I've been searching for meaning, I guess, is I'm becoming more active where I can in ways that I believe the world could be improved in. And that's my current journey that I'm on now, is I'm searching for meaning in terms of improving what I can, where I can.
That's right. Be the change you wish to see in the world. I love that quote. I believe it's Gandhi who said that. Actually, is it Gandhi or was it Mona Lisa?
I'm not sure.
I think it was either Gandhi or Mona Lisa, I'm pretty sure, which is a funny mix-up. But whoever said that was a genius. It's so true. It's not only beautiful, it's true. You know, it's kind of like saying monkey see, monkey do. You know, people learn things from perceiving others, and so the best we can do is to be the change we wish to see in the world, and hope that other people recognize the beauty in what we see in the world. And everybody sees a different beauty in the world, which is why being the change you wish to see in the world is important, because you will see different beauty in the world than others will. You will pick up on, you will experience different hardships, you will experience different blessings, different good fortunes. And so that is to say, we all walk a different path. And so if we all be the change we wish to see in the world, and we all pay attention to each other, then the world can be a better place, but not without both of those things. So I'm glad to hear that that's where your head is. I'm really sorry about your loss. That's a gut-wrenching loss. Deeply sorry, especially since it sounds like you and your sister were so close. I have no idea what that's like. And I also believe that the world is still a beautiful place. Why? Because death is much more common than life. It is much less common for things to live and flourish anywhere in the entire universe than they are to flourish. And tragic things happen. It's no disrespect to your sister. It's no judgment on your sister. It's just what it is. Things are more likely to die than to thrive. In fact, everything dies. eventually. And one day the lights will be off here on planet Earth, but fortunately, billions of years from now, we have a long time. So there's no need to worry about an Armageddon situation. But the point is that that's kind of what I was getting at earlier with the Pareto distribution, which was admittedly a cold place to dive into the conversation, but that was what came to my mind when you asked where I get my sense of meaning, and you were mentioning suicide, and I'm thinking, well, like, yeah, the world's chaos. The world is full of chaos. In fact, there's much more chaos than order, and that's why we value order. That's why we value structure and things that we can rely on and depend on and trust, and it makes us the things we can be grateful for, and that's why we're grateful for them. We wouldn't be grateful for them if nobody ever died. If nobody ever died, we wouldn't be grateful for life.
Yeah.
You know, so I just went on a long tirade there, but I don't know exactly what it is you need. It sounds like you have a counselor. It sounds like you're in counseling. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's
good. How's that going?
It's all right. I just fairly recently started it back up. Like, I've only had one new appointment since it happened, but I think it'll be good for me. It helped me in the past, so I have no reason to believe it won't help me now. It's just hard where this is the most difficult and painful thing that I've ever experienced. I have to believe that it will help me, because I can't go into it thinking that it won't. Otherwise, there's no point for me to do it. In my opinion, at least. I don't know.
Do you like your therapist? If you don't like your therapist, I mean, it's worth investing some time to maybe find a different one. It can be really difficult to find a good therapist. I'm not trying to preach to you, but if you're not jiving with your therapist, after like 3 sessions, might be worth reconsidering your therapist.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. And that's a difficulty where I'm living at, because counselors they have wait lists that are months, backed up by months, and so I really did like them, the one that I have. I do like them, the one that I have. I believe that there are ones out there that I could be better off with. It's really hard to say for sure, though, and it's hard for me to know if I should start getting on more wait lists or if I should accept where I'm at. Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah. A good therapist, sometimes they often have wait lists. I'm gonna put a resource for you in the chat that might help you expedite that process a little bit. Psychology Today has a great tool for finding a therapist in your area. It's on the homepage of their site. I'm putting this in the chat for you. Are you familiar with this tool? It's their Find a Therapist tool.
I've heard of it. I don't think I've never actually utilized it, but
I highly recommend you check it out.
I think I knew its existence.
I have used this and many times in different states. Excellent tool. I just put it in the chat for you. You start with your zip code, and then you can filter it out by certain qualifications or topics. And when I'm looking for a new therapist, I like to go through some bios, read some bios, see who I like, how they describe themselves. And most therapists will give you like a 15, 20-minute phone consultation for free. So I'll call 3 to 5 of them, spend 15 to 20 minutes on the phone with each of them, tell them what I'm looking to work through, ask them which methodologies or tools or, how they are equipped to help me through, how they would help me through what I'm going through, and then let them pitch themselves to me for about 10 minutes, ask them some questions, and then I'll pick one, and then if I don't like them, I'll go to one of the other ones on my list that I talked to. That's kind of how I go about it. But I do think I don't mean to get hung up here on therapy, because my belief is that anytime we go through something difficult, pretty much everybody should be in therapy. So I spent a lot of the time on these streams early on asking people about therapy, and I've kind of laid off that a little bit because of that sense that I have that just people should just be in counseling, because it's a no-brainer. But in your case, you're going through something really difficult. If you're not jiving with your therapist, I wanted to take a second to talk about your counselor, since it sounded like you might not be jiving. So you might consider that, at least. I'm not telling you what to do. Don't do anything just because I'm telling you to do it, but you might at least take some phone consultations and see if you like someone better. You're going through something really heavy, and you will get through it. You will get through this because you are living, and you are getting the care you need, it sounds like, and you are talking to people, it sounds like. I mean, you've described some really difficult stuff very eloquently here, and it sounds like you've done a lot of thinking about it, you've processed it, and so my sense is that you're going to be great, and this is just going to take some time to get through, and you're in a season of mourning, and you will probably be mourning for some time, as you should be, because you loved your sister, and your sister sounds like she was a beautiful person. So, again, I'm giving you my condolences. I'm really sorry to hear about that story. And yet, I believe you will look back one day and wonder how it could have been any differently. Again, it's not to say that your sister, it's not to say that it's like serendipitous or something. I'm not trying to put some like overly positive spin on it, but I'm saying that, again, the world is full of chaos, and beautiful things come out of that chaos. Order comes out of that chaos. And when the chaos happens, that's why the order builds. And so what I'm trying to say is, I believe that in this chaos, through this journey you're on, you will find some order that would have never been had it not been for this experience. And I don't know how that sounds to you, because I don't know what you're going through. So I'm saying that really lightly because I don't know what it feels like. But I'm trying to encourage you. I'm trying to. I do believe you'll get through this, and that this will be. You sound like a really resilient person, and I don't want you to feel like you were robbed of something, or your sister made a decision. Your sister made a really tough decision, and that was her decision.
Thank you. I thank you for that, the therapy resource. Thank you for that advice and calling around, and thank you for the perspective on order and chaos in this world. I really appreciate all of that. And you're absolutely right. Like, I will make it through this. Everyone's facing a lot of hardships, but we all have to make it through it. And I really appreciate the time that you've given me to talk today. You've helped me a lot already just in this short conversation. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for calling. Thank you for sharing about something so raw. I hope I didn't say anything that I have no idea how I could have pissed you off and have no idea. I have no idea
No.
I have no idea how anything I said sounded to you, because I just don't know what that's like. But I do appreciate you being so vulnerable here with us and sharing about something so difficult. I'm glad to hear that you're in therapy. I'm glad to hear you're gonna keep pursuing that, and would love to hear some kind of update from you at some point. So call again anytime, whether that's to update us on progress, or if you want to process something else and vent something else, you can call again anytime for any reason.
Thank you. I appreciate you a lot.
We appreciate you. And I didn't get to anything in the chat, but there was a bunch of stuff you should probably revisit in the chat that might be inspiring for you to read. We were
Yeah,
so
I
deep
absolutely
in
will.
conversation, so I didn't find a moment to plug anything there, but there's a bunch of stuff in there for you.
Thank you.
Take care. Good night. Call again anytime.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Wow. Okay, chat. Lines are opening again. I'm sorry I didn't get to any of your entries there during that call. I was so focused on what the caller was saying that I didn't. I had like 4 brain cells focused on the chat, and I only have 8 brain cells total. So there's that. Hi there. Thanks for calling.
Hi.
Hello. Can we start with your age and a brief intro?
Yeah. I'm 27, and I'm autistic.
Okay.
I've been learning how to mask it, how to pretend like I'm not autistic my whole life, and I've gotten pretty good at it. To the point where I know how to navigate most social situations that I need to navigate without causing any problems. But it's like I've learned a language, but only by using a pronunciation guide and really paying attention to the sounds that people are making and learning when and how to use those sounds. And I don't understand anything that I'm actually communicating. I'm just doing it by copying. And people just in general are really weird to me. They make me uncomfortable, and even people I like, even my friends, they just don't make sense to me, and it's really frustrating. And I guess 8 years ago now, when I was 18, I met someone who was not like that, who like just felt like a normal person to me, who was just I don't know how to explain it other than they just didn't make me feel weird, didn't make me feel uncomfortable, and I genuinely enjoyed being around them and talking to them unconditionally, which is not that's not how I experience socializing with people at all. And it was the best experience that I've ever had in my entire life. And we worked together for a couple of months, and then that was it. And I went back to just being constantly confused and weirded out by people. And then last month, it happened again. I met someone else who was not weird, who made sense to me. And now they're gone, and I'm back to just being constantly confused and weirded out by people. And I don't know. I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah. Well, you're in your late 20s. You're in a, that means that you're in a, autistic or not, you're in a season of life where you are auditing a lot about yourself and the world
Mhm.
around you. And so this is a normal time to be asking these questions, in my opinion. It was true in my case. In my late 20s to my early 30s were full of that for about 5 years. I went through about 5 years of just like, wow, it's like I felt like a 4-year-old again. It's just like on an acid trip, just like, wow, like the world is really weird, you know. Uh, and I've always wondered if I have some autism. Uh, I'm not like I don't feel like I have any like social handicaps, but like yeah, people weird me out sometimes, um, and sometimes I feel like I'm socially awkward in certain situations. Not all the time. Like I'm fine. Like I'm socially fine. Like I can carry a conversation. I'm fine. But like I notice things that I feel like other people don't notice. That I'm just like, oh my god, nobody noticed that just happened. Like somebody made some weird facial expression, and like I've talked to enough people here on this stream who've uh, dealt with autism to know that that's like I've identified with that with a lot of people who are autistic who've called in that say like, oh yeah, somebody makes a small facial expression and I pick up on it and others don't, and it just like wrecks my whole experience and everybody else is fine and
Yeah.
I'm like losing my mind. I'm like, yeah, I totally understand what you're talking about. Like I totally get that. So I'm saying like um, in some way, if you are autistic, then you know, I mean, you're clearly not like, uh, you're clearly not nonverbal. You're clearly well. I mean, we've only been talking a couple minutes, so I don't, know to what I don't know what your experience is like. But from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you're very uh, well spoken. It seems like you, uh, it sounds like your brain probably goes really fast. That's my hunch after talking
Mhm.
to you for a few minutes. It sounds like your brain goes really fast, faster than probably a lot of people's. And so your brain, your band, you have like this fiber connection on your brain where you're digesting things that other people just don't have bandwidth to pick up on. And so,
Oh,
that's a that's a blessing. That's a gift. Uh, is what I would say. And uh, you know, with that, there are trade-offs. That means that you will experience the world differently than other people. Of course, like I'm not an expert on autism or anything. I'm a huge fan of Temple Grandin. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Temple Grandin, but I'm sure she's going to come up a couple times at least during our chat because I love Temple Grandin, and pretty much every time I talk to someone who's autistic, I ask them if they're familiar. So, are you familiar with Temple Grandin and her work?
only tangentially. I've never read one of her books.
Okay. Have you seen the HBO movie about her life?
No, I haven't.
Oh my goodness, you gotta watch that. Let me throw that IMDb link in the chat. That's great for everybody to watch. Highly recommend everybody check this out. It's called Temple Grandin, starring Claire Danes. It's an HBO movie. It's not a It's not even a documentary. It's a feature film. And Temple Grandin uh, stood by like the whole production and was like, "Yep, this was my life." It's like one of the most amazing endorsements from any figure of a movie about their life. She's like, "Yeah, that was my life." Let's see here. Temple
Huh,
Grandin
wow.
feature film. Putting this in the chat for you to check out. Amazing movie. I've seen this movie like 3 times. Uh, Amazing
All
movie.
right, I'll watch it.
Highly recommend. It's just entertaining. It's not even like, I mean, you'll learn some stuff, but it's just amazing story. Um,
Huh.
so check that movie out. Great place to start. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, is to encourage you that your brain, if you're autistic, your brain isn't normal, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
First of all, there is no normal. We get normal from distribution charts. We get distribution charts from the Greeks, and we get Greeks from agriculture. Uh, I don't know. And we get, the point is that like there is no normal, so like everybody's brain is different anyways, and so like you're not, yeah, and I'm trying not to be insensitive because I do realize that autism spectrum disorder is a spectrum, and that some people one of my neighbors growing up was nonverbal autistic and lived at home and probably still lives at home. He must be at this point in his 40s. And so I do realize that it's a very serious condition for people who are nonverbal. So I'm not trying to be insensitive to that, because I do realize that is a very big burden for a lot of people. And at the same time, I'm saying that for you, you're clearly not nonverbal. You clearly have no problem articulating your feelings. In fact, if you're autistic, I would at least imagine, just from what I understand about autism, that if anything, you have no filter, and that maybe sometimes you piss
Yeah.
people off because you just say things, and you're just like, yeah, you don't have that social filter. That little voice in your head's like, yeah, don't say that. Like, people who are autistic don't have that. They just say things, and they're like, oh, sorry, did I make you mad? I didn't mean to. you know. So that, in other words, that makes you incredibly articulate. And with that will come some challenges, and that will mean that you probably won't be able to be buddy with everybody. Not everybody will probably not everybody will have the capacity or bandwidth to be buddy with you, if that's true.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I mean, what that means is that you'll have very deep, meaningful relationships, maybe more well-known relationships than a lot of people are able to have, because if you can find those people who, maybe other autistic people who have similar brains, who can talk the way you talk and think the way you think, like you might have some deeper connection with these people than other people have with their friends, neurotypical people. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if it's making sense what I'm saying, but I'm trying to just say, like, yeah, like, I think it's a normal time of life to be questioning that stuff, and at the same time, just rest assured that I think, my opinion anyway, is that you'll find your way. You'll find people in your life who you will connect with, and it sounds like you're still doing that. It sounds like you have recognized people in your life who have been there for you in that way and have meant those things to you in the past. And my guess is that you'll continue to find people like that. And your relationships won't look like other people's relationships. You won't have a typical social life, is my guess, if that's the case. And
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want a typical social life.
Yeah, you only want what you know, right? None of us can. Neurotypical people wouldn't wish to be autistic because they don't know what it's like, and it would just be mysterious. And autistic people wouldn't wish to be. We can't wish to be anything else other than what we know, because that's like what our brains are conditioned for, what we know. So that's what makes the world beautiful, is that we all know what we know, and we try to do the best with what we have.
I do. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and it's definitely. I mean, it's definitely true that the relationships that I have had and that I have developed, I mean, they have been different than what I think a lot of neurotypical people have, and like for example, the people that I managed to be friends with, we end up having just more blunt and, I feel more open relationships than what I see with a lot of other people, and that's really nice.
Right.
But I can't.
Doesn't sound nice to neurotypical people. Neurotypical people are cringing right now. They're like, "Oh, that sounds horrible." You're blunt with people, and they like it. But I know what you're saying. I'm the same. This is why I wonder if I'm autistic, because I've always been the same way. Like I value my relationships where I can tell people exactly what I think, and they don't get upset. Because I upset so many people. I inevitably put my foot in my mouth. It's not about me. I'm listening, but I'm agreeing, and I get it. I get it, to an extent at least.
Yeah. But I can't shake the idea that there's still, even with those friendships that I really cherish those people, but
right,
there's still something that is off, that just a little hitch, a little it's so hard to explain, but and the fact that I've experienced at least twice people that like I don't have that hitch with, but yet those aren't the people that I end up being friends with, and the world is so full of people that are just unbearable, and I don't know how to process that, or how to deal with that.
How to deal with what specifically? There was a few things there, and I'm struggling to zero in on
With
which
just
thing you're struggling to deal with.
there are so many people. I mean, the vast majority of people that I encounter are just not interesting to me. Not
Right.
I don't enjoy talking to them. I don't enjoy being around them, even if they're people that I like. They never did anything wrong to me. They're nice to me. I mean, they're still just weird. I get weird vibes from people, and it's just uncomfortable. And that's like everybody, every day, all the time. And there are like a handful of people that I'm sort of okay with, and people that I'm actually comfortable with and that I actually feel safe to fully be myself around are like 1 in a billion. And it's I mean, that's a terrifying state of existence. And you know, the older I get, the more terrifying it gets.
Can I take some guesses?
More people. Yeah.
Are you trying to say you feel a little lonely and socially lost or something?
I mean, definitely. That's what it is. Fundamentally,
that's what I'm picking up.
Is that I'm just I'm incredibly lonely, and more so when I'm with other people. You know, there's nothing more. I never feel more lonely than when I'm, you know, with a group of like 3 or 4 people who like me and are trying to include me, because they just, no matter how nice they are to me, they just don't make sense to me, and I feel out of place, and I feel like I'm somewhere I'm not supposed to be.
Right. So, there's some people in the chat who are saying they relate, and I relate with that. With age, I have learned to grapple with that stress, with that dread of people. There's so many. Yeah, I'm with you. But at the same time, like there's, like my sense is that and I don't know, because I don't know to what extent we actually relate on this. On everything you're saying, like makes sense to me, and I'm actually resonating a lot with, more so than I resonate with a lot of people that I talk to. The feeling you're describing is very familiar to me, and I dealt with it a lot in my late 20s, around your age, of just this feeling of just like going through life and just being like, okay, I'm just gonna just go do these things I have to do, and just put myself out there in all this world of strange people that just don't make sense, and so I feel at least somewhat safe stepping out on this limb and sharing a theory that I have. This isn't science. It's not even a theory. It's a hypothesis I have. Hypothesis sounds stronger for some reason than theory. But you know, this isn't science. I'm trying to be very clear. Like this is just my opinion. But my opinion is that people, like most people, are just stuck in their amygdala. A lot of people are stuck in their reptile brain, completely unaware of it. A lot of people are just stuck in their fight or flight mode unless they're with a loved one or a close friend or someone that they really trust. A lot of people are just like in this, you know, it's individuality. In America, this is all, everything I'm about to say is just an opinion, and I could be wrong, but this is how I've managed to navigate this, and I hope it's helpful to you. Take it or leave it, throw it out the window, I don't care. But you asked. You know, how I've navigated that is, and it has gotten easier for me by thinking of it this way, is that, you know, there's like, the world is not super dangerous. The world is not a dangerous place. People aren't out to kill me. People aren't out to hurt me. People are just in general not very self-aware. And if you're autistic, if your brain goes faster than other people's, that would lead me to believe that means your brain might go faster. You might have more self-awareness than other people. That might actually make you more self-conscious to an extent. Like this is my opinion on why maybe people who have autism deal with a lot of anxiety socially and stuff like this, because they're more self-conscious than other people they're being social with are. And so what is self-consciousness? Like, if somebody's not thinking about how they're coming across in a conversation, that means that they're just stuck in this stream of consciousness, and they're not thinking about how they're coming across or how they're affecting someone else or how their words are sounding. And yet, if your brain is going faster than somebody else's, it doesn't make you smarter than them, but you might be more aware of these things. Again, these are just my opinions. This isn't science. Please don't take any of this as science. It's just how I think about this stuff. But my point is that what's helped me get through it, that feeling of anxiety, is just realizing that the world is actually very safe. People don't mean any harm. In fact, there's a great book that I'll get to in a second that kind of deals with some of this that was really helpful for me. But the point is that people aren't like, people will come across as weird sometimes, but they're not trying to hurt you. They're not trying to be nasty. They're not trying to be weird. People just, like, they're not thinking. Or they are thinking, but they don't see the full picture like you might. So, and it's no disrespect or diss on anybody else. It's just like, people are all doing the best they can, and like, you might see things slightly differently, and that's okay too. And everything's okay. That's the point. Everything's okay. It's just, you know, my guess is that in time you will learn to give grace to other people who might come across as hostile or bizarre or even disturbing. And that's a discernment that you'll have to exercise. And that was a giant guess that has happened to help me get through things like that. So I don't know if how that'll work for you, but you asked, and that's how I've navigated things like that. What does that sound like to you? Does anything I just said make sense?
I mean, it definitely, I think all of it makes sense, but it's also, I mean, it doesn't, I think, you know, I have sort of learned to, I do look at people, you know, in that way, and sort of like, they're different, and that's okay when I'm, you know, when I have to interact with people, but it doesn't necessarily, like, it doesn't make it easier for me to enjoy interacting with people, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, that's a totally different thing. Maybe you don't feel in danger in the world. I went through a season of feeling like threatened by this. So maybe I was not clear on that. Maybe I hope I didn't waste time, but I sense that you felt discomfort or freaked out by, you mentioned that other people felt weird, and it was just very, like, I can't remember the word you used earlier, but you mentioned it was just very off-putting and that you felt very lonely.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, for me, like it manifested as like a sense of danger, or like like the world is dangerous, and I had to grow through that. Like, of course, it might not be the same exact feeling for both of us, but it could still be the same. It might, in other words, it might not be the same symptom for us, but it could be the same root thought or root issue.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Lily Z from the chat says, I'm autistic and I've definitely changed my behavior to fit in, but having a few close friends that let me be myself makes it easier for me to mask with others. Not sure what that sounds like to you. They also go on to say, a lot of neurotypical people also change their behavior to fit in. You're not alone for sure. And I think that's true. I think that's actually really true. Like, people have different personalities depending on what setting they're in. People have a professional persona. People have a familial persona. People have a persona with a romantic partner, with a best friend, with a just a friend, with a normal friend, and we're all slightly. We all show each. It's not to say that we're all liars, but the point is that like we feel safe showing certain parts of ourselves. We are all one whole person, and only certain parts of ourselves are permissible in certain settings according to society, for lack of a better way that I can think to put it for now. So like at work, it's permissible for you to be one way. At home, it's permissible to be another way. And I had a therapist years ago who once described this beautiful picture to me of like, you have this picture like a bullseye target, like where you'd shoot like archery or target practice. And you have 3 rings and then a bullseye. You have 2 rings and a bullseye. And the outer ring, sorry, I'll start with the inner ring. I'll start with the bullseye. The bullseye is you. The bullseye is like all of you. It's like it's you. And no one gets in there. If you were married or have like a, domestic partner or someone that you really trust, they might see inside there sometimes, but they're never like gonna be in there because that's you. Your closest friendships, your closest relationships, your most meaningful relationships exist within the outer ring of that bullseye, and then you have an outer the second ring outside of that, which is where pretty much everybody else that you know that are acquaintances or colleagues exists. And so you have this 3-tiered system of relationship where you're at, all is at the center, and then your closest relationships are just outside of that, and you have one, and that's kind of what I'm talking about when I'm saying like everybody has our permissible personas in different settings, and so I think a lot of that's probably normal. And I hear you. I hear your distinction from earlier that it's not that you're feeling in danger or freaked out. It's more like, maybe I got tripped up because we were talking about anxiety earlier. Maybe that's why I took it to that place. But for me, it was certainly more of an anxious kind of feeling years ago. For you, I'm hearing that it's more like it's just like a deep loneliness. Like you want people to, you want more people in that inner ring, and you don't feel like you have enough people in that inner ring. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Okay. Yeah, well, what better way to there's no better way to remedy that than to keep putting yourself out there, keep trying, keep don't give up hope. There are people out there who will appreciate you. Maybe there are some autistic channels you could explore through, like maybe even a support group in your town. Don't tell us where you live, but you might seek out some kind of autistic support group. It doesn't sound like you need a like support group for like the therapy of it. Maybe you do. I don't know. It doesn't sound like you do. But it might be a good place to meet other people where you can just be think autistically and be, blunt in all these things that you're wanting. It might be a good place for you to meet people like that. Because if you're autistic, you're not going to have as easy of a time meeting people like by going to a party or like a, a networking event. Like we all have to go to these things, of course, but if you're looking for deep, meaningful relationships, you might get creative with where you're looking. So that's a thought. There's also a great book. This is the book I wanted to mention from earlier. This actually came up during the last stream. The 4 Agreements. Are you familiar with this book?
No, I'm not.
I think this would be a great book for you to check out. This is a life-changing book for me. I've read it about 3 or 4 times. I read it every couple of years. It's very short. It's like 120 pages. It's very short. It's 4 agreements that you make with yourself for a more fulfilling life. For the book, the subtitle of the book is The 4 Agreements: A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom. And the 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word. Number 1, that's chapter 1. It's 4 chapters. Chapter 1 is the first agreement. Be impeccable with your word. Chapter 2, don't take anything personally. Chapter 3, don't make assumptions. Chapter 4, always do your best. And that's not a spoiler, but it's also just kind of like a little teaser of what you can expect from that book. It's an amazing book. The chapters don't really do it justice. It sounds very basic, but I would really recommend checking that out. It's hardly any investment at all. It's like 120 pages. I'll put this in the chat for you.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
So what would make this a good call? We've talked about a lot. Well, how could we bring this home for you?
Maybe I have a specific question. What do you think that I should, or maybe I'll put it a different way. How would you deal with if you were in a situation where you didn't feel, I guess, you weren't interested in any of the people around you, but you were interested in being around people and talking to people in general? What is that? What do you think about that when I say that?
That you don't want to talk to anyone?
Yeah, I like the idea of being sociable and having friends and being around people, but all of the specific people that I know and that I happen to be around are just uninteresting and not enjoyable to be around.
I would say it sounds like you're still forming your tribe. And that you are becoming keenly aware of what a tribe member would constitute. And I'd say that's beautiful. I mean, and I'd say you're right on time. You're in your late 20s. This is the time of life where you're really becoming aware. Not that you're anywhere close to death in terms of age, but this is around the time of life where we start realizing that time is finite and that we're getting older, and that our time matters, and what we spend our time doing matters, and who we spend our time with matters. Therefore, so this is the time of life where you start. A lot of relationships change around that age where because you're asking the question that you just asked. None of these people really seem like my tribe.
Yeah.
That's okay. I would say maybe maybe there's a place you can exist in mentally for a while where you're grateful for the people that are there for what they have meant to you in the past, because none of them are there for no reason. Maybe
Right.
you can hold
Right.
some appreciation for what they have meant to you, each of these people, um, while you let these people will actually, ironically, be the people who helped you realize what it is you're looking for in close
Hmm.
friends. So, maybe there's some meaning you can find in that. Maybe there's some beauty you can find in that, where you're just like, yeah, these people actually, I thought these people were close friends, and now I'm realizing they're actually, I can't be very intimate with these people, and they helped me realize that. And there's beauty in that. It doesn't mean you have to cut them off. It doesn't mean you have to resent them. Um, you can actually thank them for that. You don't have to physically go say, "Hey, thank you for teaching me what a true friend should be." But, you know, you can just, find some beauty in it.
Yeah,
Maybe.
that is really beautiful the way you put that.
Sounds like you're going through some growing pains, and it's growing's painful. But the beauty is that we get stronger when we grow. So, there's no pain, no gain. You want to grow some muscle, you got to shred some muscle. And sounds like you're in the season of trimming some fat, but it doesn't need to necessitate a culling. Uh,
Yeah.
I hear your frustration, and I think that's probably because you're really longing for something more, and I think it will come, and I think you will. I think you will. I think you're in the process of discovering what's important to you, and I think that's great.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to me. You've given me a lot to think about.
You might try some mindfulness meditation. Thank you for calling, by the way. Yeah, I'm happy to listen, but we appreciate you calling and sharing this interesting questions you've asked. You might try some mindfulness meditation. I'll mention one more resource that's been good for me and some other people here in the community. Bella Ruth Nappersteck. I mention her a lot here. Are you familiar with Bella Ruth Nappersteck?
No.
She does these amazing guided meditations. They're audio files. You buy them, and then they stay on your phone in perpetuity. They're anywhere from like 20 minutes to an hour long, and depending on the length, they range from $6 to $20, I want to say. And these are not like it's not like the Calm meditation app or something like that. Like, it's no disrespect to these apps that are like, I'm sure some of them are great. I've never even used Calm, but I know it's popular. But this is something totally different. Like, these are custom. She reads all of them. It's her voice. She has this incredibly soothing voice. She's a psychotherapist and author, and she has these theme-based guided imagery meditations that are amazing. You can use them up to, like, I've used some of these like 100 times, and they never get old. You just it kind of becomes a part of your routine. You do them in the morning, you do them at night, maybe sometimes twice a day if it's a day where you need twice a day. And you don't do them like, it's not like you do it like every day for the rest of your life. Like, it's kind of seasonal. Like, sometimes I'll do them like for a few months, and then I won't need it, and I'll stop, and then I'll do it. Okay, then oh yeah, I want to go back to that meditation. I'll do it a few months later. So it's not like I'm saying you have to like, this is a part of your life now. But check this out. You might find these interesting. She has some on all kinds of different topics. She has some on sleeping better. She has some on thankfulness. She has some on forgiveness. She has some on finding inner peace. She has some on easing pain. She has one on that I laugh at every time I see, not because I think it's a horrible idea, but because it's like, how does this work? Well, she has one on like successful surgery, which I'm sure is like, I can actually get the idea of it, but like the title just cracks me up. It's like, it's called successful surgery. It just makes me laugh. I'm not dogging her. But I get it. You're accepting that you're going into this like traumatic procedure. I get it. Like, it makes sense. Anyways, a lot
Okay.
of exposition there, a lot of preamble. I'll put this in the chat for you. Bella
Yeah, okay.
Ruth Naperstek, guided imagery meditation. There's probably some typos. I'm typing fast, but the link is in there for you. And yeah, so you might try some guided meditation and with the intent that you're in a season of growth and accepting that for all that it is, for the loss, for the gains you're about to realize, and accepting where you are, and welcoming the emotions that are present because they deserve to be there. Maybe sitting with the emotions that you feel and welcoming them. I like to think of rather welcoming emotions in that a lot of people try to like put off, like, I don't like feeling bad, like, I feel bad, I don't like this, put it in, I want to feel good. And it's just like, no, like, if we feel bad, there's a reason. Let's welcome it because there's a reason we're feeling that way. Let's acknowledge we feel that way. Let's welcome it into our home for the time being. And it's going to bring a suitcase in, and it might stay for a couple weeks, and then it's going to go home. It's going to go away. And if we don't welcome it, then we never get to the bottom of what's going on because we never acknowledged it happened. So that's what meditation means to me. I talked a lot, but you asked a lot of questions, so I hope I didn't talk too much. But there's some food for thought.
Not at all. It's great.
I enjoyed the conversation. I like the way you think. I think you're going to find the community you're looking for. The chat loves you. There's a lot of good thoughts for you to revisit in the chat. So
Okay.
you can call again anytime, and hope this was a good call for you.
Yeah, it was. Thanks.
All right. Good night. Take care.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, chat, we're about 2/3 of the way through this stream. We're going to be going for about another 45 minutes. Lines are opening. I'm cracking my neck. Feels nice. Hello, thanks for calling.
Hello? Am I live?
You are on. Can we start with your age and a brief intro?
Oh, well, yes, of course. I'm 4, and not a day passes that I
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. Am I on speakerphone by chance?
No, you're on my headphones. Just check if you can.
Would you mind taking me off your headphones? I hate to ask, but sometimes we have trouble with headphones hearing people here.
Is this better?
Much better. I didn't catch anything you said. Can we? No problem. Can we start over? How old are you, and what's the reason you're calling tonight?
I'm 40, and I'm calling basically because I wish to talk about these things that I'm feeling, and that is I wish that I don't exist and that I was never born. I mean, that's basically the thing. I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit nervous about talking, so.
No worries. Take your time. We're here to listen. This is a safe place. If you need to take a second to collect your thoughts, take a deep breath, whatever you need to do, we're happy to wait. Whatever makes you comfortable. We're here to listen.
Okay. Hopefully in time it will get better, and please ask questions whenever you feel like it. I don't know where to start from, but when I am under stress, my action to stress is to think, I wish I wasn't here. I wish this, basically wish I wasn't even born to remove myself from that situation. And also sometimes when I'm having a good time or I'm with friends, or I stop and I think to myself, okay, like, would I like to remove myself from this? And my answer becomes basically yes. I wouldn't mind not being here. And I don't know. It's just I don't feel. Also, I don't feel like I should be talking to you right now, or because I'm taking up the time. Or let's say have a because
sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say because I didn't have any, like, I didn't have a hard life, and I didn't have a hard childhood, and I listened to many of you and the stories of people with devastating stories, basically, and for their state or thoughts or made sense to me, but mine doesn't make sense, and I feel basically guilty for not taking up your time and I don't know how to say, but also I don't know, I'm strange and confused when on TV or somewhere here in my surroundings where people are sick and collecting money or whatnot, and like not even wanting to to participate in. I don't know.
You don't need to feel guilty for calling in. Anyone can call for any reason. We toast people if we think that they aren't calling for a reason that's there's no real topic here, but for lack of a better term, on topic, and you're not being toasted. I don't want you to feel guilty for calling in, because I answer calls randomly. There's no. I'm glad you called in and are sharing this. Can you hear me okay? You're cutting out. Your phone's cutting out a little bit. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Do you love yourself? Do you not love yourself? That's the question running through my head. I'm hearing a lot of doubt in what you're saying. You're saying that you wish you couldn't be here, and you're saying you feel bad for calling in here tonight, and it makes me wonder how you feel about yourself.
Well, I don't know. I feel guilty, or because like I don't feel like my reasons to feel bad, or I don't know how to say to this in relations to life. I don't know how to name them, but I feel like because my more or less good, it's not a reason good enough for maybe a call. But and about the self-love, I don't know. It's maybe it changes. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I'm okay with where I am, and sometimes I think I don't know, like,
I hear what you're saying. You feel guilty. You feel like you have no good reason to feel the way you feel.
like I should be to say normal and not. I mean, I am suffering when I'm having these thoughts, and I should not be suffering because I don't have basically the reason to. I don't know how to say.
Well, there's a reason we feel anything. There's no unreasonable feelings. There has to be some reason you're feeling what you're feeling. And I wonder what you think when I say that. Because I wonder, and I'm concerned, and I hate hearing that you feel that way. It sounds like there's some confusion around why you feel the way you feel. And I wonder if maybe would it make you feel better if there were a reason that you felt the way you feel, and that maybe you might be able to identify it?
Well, maybe it would be easier, but I mean, it would make more sense, but it would not be the way I feel, and the situation would be the same.
What is your situation?
Well, I mean, in regards to this, that particular reason to feel this way, but if you have any other questions, be free to ask. I'm not sure what you're asking.
What is your life like? Don't tell us your name. Don't tell us where you live. But are you? What is your life like?
My life. I'm 40 and I'm living at my parents' house. Basically, I'm renting space here because I used to rent in the somewhere from someone else, and it was too expensive for me because like a low-paying job. So it made more sense to basically return home and then pay them like accept, but I feel better that way. And so basically, my parents' house for a lower fee than that it's like standard. I work for companies like office was home office job for last 2 years. Now it's like changing from office to home office situation. I don't like much, but change that. So I work that for 8 hours. After that, I work some other job. Not so. And yeah, I didn't. It was like office and just kind data entry, and I maybe to get into how important that is. But after that, I work some other job that is not so strict. Like I don't have to be like 8 hours there. It depends if I work only when there is something to work on. And I don't know. I try to work out. I go. And I have this, like, let's call him boyfriend, that I also text with and okay. And I don't know, my life, I don't know what else.
How long have you felt? I want a couple of questions. How long have you felt this way? First of all, how long have you been feeling this way? Like you don't want to exist?
Well, it started at basically after when I was at college. Let's say when I was 26, I kind of felt stuck in at that age. Aging, I didn't really feel. It's like I was sad. Oh, I feel like I'm 26, even when I was, I don't know, 35. And basically, I think when I was in college, and from then I also had like depressive episodes where I went to psychologist. One psychologist that he said like he could not help. He was a psychiatrist, and then I used antidepressants and psychologist at the same time, and that helped me. I mean, not to cry during the sessions. To better and to gain some. I don't know precisely now how to explain what we did there, but I didn't. I went once, and then she just like we made full circle, and she was happy with me, and she our sessions, and I taking the antidepressants for a few months after that, and then I stopped. I did stop on my because I was not in them, and basically after that I just I was okay. I was feeling okay. Even now, I mean, I feel quote air quotes okay. I'm not depressed as I was when I was before therapy. This is just like I'm not like before. I used to be so sad and so like I had this crushing feeling in my chest from this sadness and from this feeling. Now I don't have a line, and when I do, I want exactly, and I don't know. I don't feel that sadness. I don't. It's just like it's kind of rational to me not to want to live in a way. I mean, it's in the world. Oh, I mean, I see the world like it's full of wounds. Like it's I have a feeling that it shouldn't be like that. So, and the life is very hard, and that, I mean, by when I look at the nature level, I think it's normal, but on a human level, I don't know. And I think that life could be easier for humans if only it's going to look like for majority of people. And I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place.
No, it's okay. Are you hurting yourself? Are you
You mean like
thinking of,
cutting and stuff like that?
are you self-harming or thinking of taking your life?
No,
Or no?
no, no,
You just
no, because I mean,
you just don't want to be
I
here.
just wish, yeah, no, I just wish that I was removed. But when I was thinking about that, I mean, I do wish that I don't exist, but I would not kill myself because I was thinking about that a lot, and I was reading and I don't know, watching some videos on YouTube, and I realized that suicide is basically translating my pain onto the people that I love and who love me. So it's just like multiplying the pain on many levels. So it made no sense to me, and I don't plan on doing it. Even when I was like really low in my feelings and thoughts, it was not an option for me. So I don't. I know. I kind of feel maybe I'm self-sabotaging myself to myself or something like that. Maybe it's in that way. I am unable to succeed because I have this basic flat line. Like I'm not ambitious.
I see. I'm glad to hear you're not self-harming or thinking of self-harming. It sounds like you're just sounds like you're really deflated. Sounds like you feel there's no hope. Sounds like you think you are helpless.
Yeah, I once told me that it's this like learned helplessness, and maybe I relate to that in a way, that I just don't react anymore to potential like exit strategies. It's just I'm not sure. Like I did have like this small stressors in life who maybe contributed to this feeling, to my low self-esteem, and for to the situation that I'm in right now, like living with parents and having a low pay job. And so I don't know.
So you said a few things that I have some responses for that I want to give. Um, some hard things you've shared. You mentioned that I'm really glad to hear you're not thinking of hurting yourself or taking your life. You mentioned a very good reason for not taking your own life, which is that it just displaces the pain, uh, your pain on others that love you. And yet, there's another reason that I think is a more beautiful reason um, to live and to relish living. Uh, could I share that? Would you hear that?
Yes.
You know, you mentioned the animal kingdom, you mentioned nature, and you mentioned the cruelty of life, and you mentioned that it makes sense in nature, but that humans are capable of so much more. And it sounds like you are seeing a lot of injustice in your life or around you. And yeah, there's injustice in the world at large too. Injustice happens everywhere. Every day there's horrible things that happen. And yet, every day there are more good things happening than bad things. How do we know that? We know that because when we look at the news, all we hear is bad stuff. uh, and the news is news. That means it's new. And therefore, the news reports things that are novel, that are not normal. And so when an airplane crashes, we hear about it on the news, and we don't hear about the millions of planes that landed successfully that year. We only hear about the ones that crash. So I'm not sure exactly what injustices you're talking about, and I'm trying to tread lightly because I don't know if something happened in your life that we don't know about here. Maybe something happened to you that is influencing this that is severe, and if that's the case, then we can talk about that. But I'm trying to encourage you that, I haven't quite finished the thought yet, but the thought is that the world is actually a beautiful place. Life is beautiful. Life is worth living with vigor because life is a gift. Why? Because um, life is not normal. Life is news. Life is pretty much the only good news there is. Speaking of bad news, life is the ultimate good news because the whole universe is full of entropy and death. We've been looking for life for outside of planet Earth for centuries. We can't find it. The only life we know of is here on Earth, and the only intelligent life we know of are people like you and me and the chat here, humans. And if you have a prefrontal cortex, that sets you apart as intelligent life, and you are brimming with potential if you have one of those in your head. And you do have one. And your life is beautiful. And I don't know you. I don't know your struggles. Everybody has struggles, of course, and some people have really deep struggles. And I don't know if there's something really deep that you're going through that you haven't shared yet. I'm also having a little bit of a hard time hearing you, so I hope I haven't missed something that you've shared. If you want to share anything that's on your mind while I'm saying this, I'll open the floor to you again. But my point is, I wanted to give you a better reason for not just taking your own life, but for living with vigor. Because when we are given life, we are the culmination. We're not just alive when we're birthed by our mothers. We aren't just alive. We're not just another human out of 8 billion humans on the planet. It can seem really insignificant thinking of it, thinking of ourselves as just one more person amongst 8 billion people. That's not a very happy picture. And yet, what we are is the culmination of our bloodline, of our heritage. You are the successor of your family line all the way back to Africa, which means you're the latest model, which means you're the most badass there ever has been in your family. And you might have a younger sibling that maybe is a little more advanced, maybe, but I'm just making jokes now. That was a joke. I'm trying to make light in the air a little bit. But the point is that you...
No, I'm the latest.
What's that?
Faulty. I'm the latest model.
You're the latest model. Good. Okay, you get it. Good. Yeah, you're the latest, greatest thing. And you're not so easily replaced as an iPhone. A new iPhone comes out every year, and they're not that important or interesting anymore. It's just like, oh, there's another iPhone, there's another computer, there's another video game, there's another restaurant. These things are a dime a dozen, but you are you're talking about loads and loads and loads of microevolutions, that tens of hundreds of thousands of years of microevolutions leading up to your life. And each one of these is more advanced. Each one of these microevolutions makes you better and stronger and more resilient for life than last generation. Makes you wiser, stronger, smarter, faster. And I don't know what that means to you, but it means a hell of a lot to me. And it inspires me a lot to think of life that way.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, like that, and about when I was younger, when I was impressed how we built everything, how we have transportation, communication, stuff like that, and I was impressed with humans. And then I got disappointed at certain points in time, and I kind of changed my view on that. But the thing I wanted to see what you said. The thing that I think is faulty with me is that I don't have the life bigger. When something, for example, in front of the threat or a problem or issue, they face it, they challenge it, they fight it, or I don't know, or they run away from it. But I have a feeling like I am not doing anything, like fight, flight, freeze, response, and I don't know how to change that. I want to have more vigor because I'm going to live as much as I'm going to live in this life, but I don't know how to change, what to change to have more vigor. How not to.
Yeah, that's
I'm not expecting that you tell me.
Well, I can't. I can't fix your problems. I'm not a psychologist.
I'm not expecting.
Even a psychologist can't. But it's a great question, and I do have a couple thoughts. I have a couple. I have a couple of books that I would suggest checking out. Would you read it? Would you read a couple books if I mentioned a couple books? Would you check them out?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay. The first one I'm going to suggest is the shortest one, but it's actually not the one I think you need the most. I think, and these are just my opinions, maybe you don't need either of them. I'm going to put the Goodreads link for these books in the chat for you so you can read about the books before you buy them to make sure you actually want to read it. I don't want you to waste time or money. The first book is a book we talked about earlier, The 4 Agreements. Were you in the stream when we were talking about that book earlier?
No, unfortunately. Okay. But I was asleep when my alarm failed, so.
No problem. It's no problem. I don't want to repeat myself if you already heard us talking about it. But this is a great book. It's called The 4 Agreements. It's 4 agreements that you make with yourself for a more fulfilling life. And this isn't the book I'm actually most excited to suggest that you check out. But I think it is a good book for everyone to read. I've read this book probably 3 or 4 times. It's a very short book. That's why I'm mentioning it first. It's 4 chapters long. Each chapter focuses on a different agreement. I apologize, chat. I know I already said all this. I'm going to go through the 4 agreements again for the caller. The first agreement is be impeccable with your word, meaning just only speak things that you believe are true, and don't don't be. I'm not. By the way, I'm not trying to insinuate you're doing any of these things wrong or anything. It's just a good wholesome book to. I enjoy revisiting this book at least, and you asked for some ideas, so here's some ideas. Be impeccable with your word is the first agreement. Chapter 2 is called Don't Take Anything Personally. That's the second agreement. Chapter 3, Don't Make Assumptions. Chapter 4, Always Do Your Best. Um, and it's a beautiful book. It sounds really simple, but I think everybody listening to this should check this book out because it's so short. It's an amazingly
Mm-hmm.
simple, mind blowing book. It's like you read it and you're like, ah, yeah, duh. Like that was my reaction when I read it. I was like, I'm gonna read this book all the time, and I think I've read it 4 times now. I'm putting this in the chat for you. You
Okay,
can check this
Julian,
out.
for sure. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. The Four Agreements. Uh, oh boy, that wasn't it. That was the wrong link. Hang on. Sorry, guys. I'm removing that. That was the wrong one. The Four Agreements. This is the link I meant to send. The Four Agreements. There we go. Okay. And then the second book I would suggest checking out has a very funny name. I love the name of this book. It's called Existential Kink.
Mm.
It is a book, fairly new book. It's written by Carolyn Elliott. The best way I know to describe this book is like it's kind of like a distillation of the work of Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche, Carl Jung,
Mm.
and the work of Freud. It's like a synthesis of the three of those guys' work into a. This is like a. There's actually a course. This woman, she's a PhD psychologist, Carolyn Elliott, and she actually has an existential kink course that she
Mm-hmm.
offers, and you can travel somewhere. She might do it remote now. I don't know, but this is a book that basically it's very interesting premise. It's again a synthesis of all these famous classic psychologists' work. It's a synthesis of a bunch of these different ideas into a course that helps you. Basically, the premise of the book is that we get off on our own pain, and this is a brilliant premise that she walks you through. And I don't want to say any more, but I feel like I need to. Maybe I don't, but I feel like I'm ruining it by describing it because you really just need to. I'm not going to do it justice, but she walks you through these steps to begin to be able to laugh at yourself for the things. First to be able to recognize that we actually have these tendencies to relish in our own pain and our own tendencies to attract pain, and
Mm-hmm.
she walks you through these steps to be able to begin to laugh at this in yourself, to realize that you're actually turned on by it. That's why it's called existential kink. She's basically saying like, it's kind of likened in the book to the way like some people are into BDSM and they want to be like tied up during sex and stuff. Like some people like getting like hurt during sex because it's like, some people have a kink like that. And her existential kink, meaning like our kink in life is denying, we pretend that we don't like feeling certain ways when in reality it's
Mm-hmm.
comfortable for us to feel certain ways. And again, this is the work of Freud, the work of Nietzsche, the work of Carl Jung, and it's a synthesis. None of this is really hers, but it's like her. She's a brilliant psychologist, so I'm sure a lot of it's hers. But it's like she's making a synthesis of all these classic ideas. And I'm thinking of this book as you're talking. I'm going to put this in the chat for you.
Mm-hmm.
What does that
Great.
sound like?
Thank you very much.
Does that sound interesting?
Yeah, it sounds interesting, and I've seen a couple of your lives, and I don't remember you mentioned that book before, so I'll give it a read for sure, and check her course out also. I mean, if it's available to see, I don't know. I mean, I called to gain some of that. To get some recommendations from you or from the chat, or maybe in the comments later, someone makes this really help me as you said.
There are a lot of good things that you could revisit in the chat later. I think that'd be a good idea. I also, somebody mentioned earlier, and I'm with them. I think it might have been Ungertang Girl. I want to say their name is in the chat. Untergang Girl. Sorry, I almost called you an orangutan. Untergang Girl, I believe it was, that said, I wish I had a monkey sound on my soundboard. I should get a monkey sound. I believe they said earlier that they were encouraging you to not give up on therapy, even though that psychologist said they couldn't help you. And I wanted to second that because it doesn't sound like that was a very good psychologist. A good psychologist doesn't give up. And so I want you to at least consider, I'm going to put another link for you in the chat for Psychology Today's Find a Therapist tool. Psychology Today. This is a great tool.
I do plan to go back to therapy. I mean, the psychologist didn't really. She did say, "Come again whenever you want." She just had to close that back then. So it was like closing the session, or I don't know how to explain that, but maybe I don't know how to explain that. But I mean, therapy is in plan for sure. I just need to get straight. So.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Well, I just put a link for Psychology Today's Find a Therapist tool in the chat for you. It's a great tool for finding. It's an awesome tool, honestly. It's so much flexibility in filtering out search results for therapists in your area. I've used it myself in different states at different times. It's always great, and we've tried our best to listen tonight and create a place for you to just share.
Yeah,
I'm really,
thank you very much.
really grateful that you shared the way you did. I'm really sorry to hear that you're feeling the way you're feeling, but I want you to know that like there's no bad reason to feel the way you feel. You don't need to feel guilty for feeling the way you feel just because your life is fine. And there's, you mentioned earlier that you felt like you were wasting our time, and like there's no good reason for you to feel these ways. There are good reasons for you to feel these ways. It doesn't mean that they won't. That it won't ever get better for you. It can get better for you. It sounds like you've been going through this a long time, but it also sounds like you want to get through it. And there are things we go through in life. It's my belief that they can last a long time, but we can get through them, and we don't know how long they're going to last, and we don't know what's at the bottom of them. And sometimes what's at the bottom of them is surprising. Sometimes we get to the bottom of something we've been going through for a decade, and we're like, "Holy cow! Like I didn't think this was going to be." I didn't think it was going to be this, and so Existential Kink is a great book for that reason. It's like this surprise. It's like a very surprising premise, but also not too surprising because again, it's classic psychology synthesis. But I hope you enjoy that book, and please call again anytime. Like, would love to hear some kind of update from you. Wishing the best for you, and please call again sometime. Let us know how you're doing.
Thank you. The call and for your time and for everything. Okay, all the best.
You too. Take care. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Guys, what a beautiful stream. Thank you guys so much for being here with us. I wasn't able to get to many. There was so many intense conversations tonight. I apologize. I couldn't get to more comments in the chat tonight. But you guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. We do these streams twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Another quick shout out for next Wednesday. There will be a stream this coming Wednesday, August 24th, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. This late at night, I got to double check my time zones. I start getting a little wonky on my time zones. Do not miss this live stream. This is not a religious live stream, but it is a live stream about, I want to say the Bible, but it's really just about the Torah. It's about the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. This is not a religious podcast, even though it's about the Torah. It's not even a podcast. It's going to be here on YouTube. It probably will be a podcast later. But don't miss this stream with Ron Hendel and Richard Elliott Friedman has been in the works for a long, long time. These are the 2 leading voices in this field. Ron is an Old Testament anthropologist, and Richard is the author of Who Wrote the Bible, the best-selling book about the Bible besides the Bible itself. And I've got some questions. They have been brewing for many years that I have finally organized and am going to be hashing out in a conversation with the two of them at once for about 2 hours, Wednesday, August 24th. And I could not be more excited. This has been a long time coming. Please check it out. We will not be trying to convert people to religions. We're just going to be having some conversations about the very first history writings on planet Earth, the very first law ever written on planet Earth, what it meant at the time, and how people ought to be, how it ought to be perceived today. Just these first few books. So not getting into Jesus or any of the stuff people usually associate with the Bible. So there's that. Hope you guys enjoyed being here tonight as much as I did. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to our mods. Tonight we had Jake Cooper and Jake, and we also had King's Pawn. That's who was here. I was like, I didn't see, I know you weren't alone. I saw King's Pawn here. I think it was just you two fellas tonight. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. And I will see you guys on Tuesday for the next Anonymous Live, right back here. So we'll be doing a stream here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then I'll be in Toronto for Bufferfest. So if you feel like coming to Bufferfest next weekend, not this coming weekend, next weekend, August 26th through 29th, I'll be there IRL premiering something I've been working on for over a month now. And then it'll be here on YouTube, but I will be premiering it there. Hopefully it'll get some kind of recognition for all that has gone into it. Because this is now one of the... there has been so much going into this video at this point. So I'm really excited to finally be done with it and also to show it to some people. So hope to see you guys at Bufferfest. If not, I'll see you right back here on Tuesday. Thank you guys so much. Take care. Good night.